After making sure he didn't miss anything he shouldn't, he powered it on and connected the quantum computer to the home server. The moment he did that, "Sir, I have received the connection, but it has nothing," Nova informed Aaron. Because anything connected to that motherboard is just a shell, as they have no instruction sets currently, so even they don't know what to do. "Should I install the basic instruction architecture sets that you wrote?" "Yes, but install based on the received connections configurations. Install different instruction sets accordingly. For instance, for the chip with 5,000 qubits, install the version of the architecture's instruction set designed for it. For the one with 1,000 qubits, install the architecture's instruction set that has QRAM instructions. Lastly, for the remaining one that has 3,500 qubits, install the instruction sets designed for storage." Aaron gave instructions like a machine gun. "Yes, sir." Nova acknowledged the instructions and did as told. She retrieved the quantum architecture that Aaron spent 15 days writing. Then she repurposed it based on Aaron's orders and installed them on the different connections. "Sir, it's done," Nova informed Aaron just a few seconds after he gave the orders. "Well, that was pretty fast considering the size of the instructions in the architecture," Nova said as he was surprised by the speed. The few seconds delay was only caused because it took a lit bit longer to send the data to them. Nova explained that even the few seconds it took were only because he transfer speed had a limit, and it would have been done faster if it was not for that. "Well, knowing and seeing is different," Aaron said after hearing what she said. Although he knew and expected the speed, he wasn't prepared for it to be this fast. "Power it up then," he ordered Nova, who did so at once. The cooling rig surrounding the motherboard started getting noisier as it tried to keep the chip RAM and motherboard at their optimal temperatures when the beast was powered on after Aaron said so. "It's on, sir." He didn't need to install or create an operating system for the quantum computer as it was inside those instructions. That's why it was as long as it was and took him days to finish even at the speed he was writing at. "Benchmark it," Aaron said immediately after he was told it was powered on. "Holy shit," was the only thing that was heard from Nova, who was trying to calm herself down to avoid frying her motherboards from surprise. "Language," is the only thing Aaron managed to say to her, as immediately before his next words could come out they were stuffed back because of what he was seeing on the screen in front of him. "Haha." Nova, who managed to control herself, couldn't help but laugh after seeing Aaron's surprised face. The results were crazy. No matter what system load Nova tried to simulate with a quantum computer, it was completed immediately. Whether it was to render something or write down pi number, twice the current record to anything Nova could think of, everything was completed at the moment it was given, with the delay being only from the limit of the transmission speed of the data cables and their connections. "Now this is what you call a computer," Nova said with the voice that showed that she was excited with the speed of her soon-to-be home. "What is your current size?" he asked after calming himself down from the surprise and excitement. "Without the training database that I'm creating, I'm nearing 30 petabytes. Holy shit. Although he expected her to increase in size every day due to her training herself, but damn, that was large. "Language," Nova returned the favor. "How long will it take for you to migrate over to this computer?" "With your home internet speed, it will take me 2 weeks to migrate," Nova replied after calculating the time with Aaron's home's average internet speed in mind. "During the migration, your other functions won't be interrupted, right?" "No, sir, it won't. I will be using about half the home's internet speed to transfer myself, and the remaining half to keep contact with you. If no one is using it, I will take over all of it until someone tries to use it again." "Okay, then, begin the migration," Aaron decided to start, so that it can be completed faster for even a second. "Sir, you still have some reports that you haven't looked at," Nova reminded him again. "Not now. We will go through them after you complete the migration." "Now I have to assemble one more thing," Aaron said to Nova, as he turned to look at the remaining component that he didn't assemble yet. He postponed the reading of the report because they were not urgent. If they were, Nova wouldn't have delayed them. Another reason is because if he completed the assembly and everything needed for the new device, he will be able to solve most of them with ease, and maybe all at once. With that, he immediately started the assembly of the device. After spending about 3 hours assembling small components between each other, finally there were only 3 large pieces remaining. One looked like a helmet that was still open on the back. The second one looked like a motherboard, while the third one looked like a smaller motherboard but had many small wires. "Sir, what are those?" Nova asked Noah, who was resting after concentrating for a very long time. What do you think they are? He answered with a question. Since I only saw small pieces of it being made, I can't be completely sure, but to me it seems like a virtual reality headset for movies. Is it?
Ding dong ding.
Correct. Erin affirmed her answer. Yes, you are right, though it needs a lot of complicated components to be made. All of them can be categorized to just four main parts: the headgear, the neural interface, and the control computer, Erin said, pointing at each part as he mentioned them before he started going deeper in his explanation. The fourth part is on the software side and not the hardware. The helmet is self-explanatory. It is just a computer case turned helmet. As you already know, the neural interface is a device that would allow the user to directly interface with their brain, transferring their consciousness to the virtual world. And the control computer is just a high-performance computer that will be used to process the vast amounts of data required for a full-dive VR experience. This computer will be using one of the 5 100-qubit computer chips we made, as it needs to be able to render high-quality graphics and support the neural interface. Isn't it overkill to use a quantum computer chip, sir? Although it is overkill, currently there is no chip powerful enough to sustain the use of the virtual headgear. And since we only have them as an alternative, we don't have another choice for the moment. Understood. Now upload the instruction set to this chip too, Erin said, as he connected the 100-qubit chip to the computer to upload its instruction so that it is capable of understanding programs. Done? Nova said a moment after he connected the chip to the computer. This time Erin did not seem too surprised as he started getting used to this convenience. After that, he disconnected it and sat in front of the monitor and keyboard that was connected to the quantum computer he made first and started typing like there is no tomorrow. He was writing the program for the virtual reality headset computer. This program will be used to utilize the computing power to process the vast amount of data required to create a full-dive VR experience to be able to generate the virtual environment in real time, process the user's neural signal, and provide feedback to the user's consciousness. March 3rd, 2014. It was the last day of Nova's migration to the quantum computer. Nova had been continuing with the migration to the quantum computer for 14 days straight. It took her that long due to the size of her code that continued growing every time she learned something new. This increase in size was despite her program being continuously optimized automatically and very frequently. Sir, the migration is done. Permission to go offline and boot from the quantum computer. Proceed, Erin approved as he finally finished writing the last line of code for the virtual reality program. Nova immediately went offline from her previous server and came back online with the quantum computer as her main brain, leaving the server as her backup one. Good afternoon, sir. Nova greeted Erin 3 seconds after she was given permission to proceed with the boot process. Welcome back, replied Erin, who didn't even feel her void, as she literally left for just 3 seconds. Thank you, sir. Nova replied to Erin's sarcastic remark. How do you feel? To explain it easily, it's like upgrading from a flip phone's camera to a telescope. Quite an upgrade 'tis then. Yes, sir, the view is completely different. Nova tried to explain it to Erin in an easier way because if she were to go in detail, it would take a few days for her to complete her explanation. Congrats on your new brain, but we have work to do, Nova, Erin said, as he connected the virtual reality helmet to the quantum computer. Upload the virtual reality program to the headgear. Done, Nova said moments after Erin ordered. I really fear the day when I have to use conventional computers again, Erin said, as he realized that he was starting to get used to the convenient speed of the quantum computer. After that, he left the basement and went upstairs. A few minutes later, he came back carrying pillows he took from the sofa in his room. He laid them down to form a makeshift bed. Then he picked the virtual reality helmet from the table and put it on as he lay down on the bed. After making sure that he was in a comfortable lying position, he said, "Login." With that, he lost his consciousness and a milestone was set for humanity. Erin's body appeared inside a blue room while being naked. When he came to himself after a few seconds, he took a look around the room, and when he saw that he was in a blue room, wow, he couldn't help but marvel at the way he was feeling. He was feeling no different from reality. Another thing he discovered was that he was buck-ass naked. He tried touching different parts of his body to try and find any irregularities of the virtual reality feel, but he failed to find it any different from reality. Ow! He cried in pain when he tried to pinch himself to see if even the pain would be real. Damn, knowing about something and feeling it is really a different thing, he said as he massaged his pinched cheek as he willed himself being clothed and clothes appeared on his body. Magic. Since he knew he could do that, he decided to take it a notch more and change the room. He changed it to be similar to a garden. The moment the change completed, he started experiencing what you would usually experience in a garden. The smell of flowers, the sound of birds, the breeze of the wind, and everything else was being felt by Aaron, who nearly forgot that he was in virtual reality. I could get used to this, he said as his hands started touching the flowers. Nova, he called immediately after he came to realize that he forgot to call her. Here, sir. Nova immediately materialized in front of Aaron with the appearance of a very beautiful woman. I insist on the very, with capital letters, image here. Wow, Aaron couldn't help but marvel at her beauty. From the face to her body proportions, she seemed like a work of art. This was despite him knowing that she was just an AI. How do I look? Nova asked while turning around, making sure that Aaron saw her every side. Beautiful. Where did you come up with the look? He asked after he complimented her. Thank you, Nova replied, and a blush could be seen on her cheeks from the compliment. Since we are in a virtual world, I wanted to have a body to interact with you, sir, and with the increase of my computing power, I decided to make myself my ideal body. Good. Now let me hear all the reports that have been collecting dust. Aaron had to change the subject because her look was causing him to have weird thoughts. Yes, sir. You have 3 reports waiting for your decision, Nova replied as she took control of Noah's room and changed it to a meeting room with a very comfortable chair for Aaron to sit and a blackboard for her to show the reports to him. Thanks, he thanked Nova, and went to sit on the comfortable chair made by her. After Aaron sat down, Nova started to give Aaron the reports one by one. The first is, we received the investigation reports from the 5 private investigators. The second, we have discovered the location of the black site which has our Trojan. The third is, Rona Rothschild seems to have been ousted from the company. When did the thing about Rena Rothschild occur? Today morning, sir. Wait for a few days, and if nothing happens, then write to her and ask her for a meeting. Yes, sir. As for the location of the black site, save it. We will need it later for the payback. Show me the reports. Yes, sir. Nova immediately made the 5 reports hover in front of Aaron. Combine the reports and write just one for each of the 2 countries with all the needed information in them. Yes, sir. Nova did as ordered and combined the reports and wrote down just 2 of them, with each of them having only the information about one of the 2 countries. Which of the 2 countries do you think is the better for our plan? Aaron asked Nova, while commanding the copies to move towards him with his mind, which they did. Ah, the convenience of virtual reality. When he started reading the reports, Nova started answering his question. I think Eden is the best for our plan. Why do you think so? Aaron asked for elaboration as he opened the next page of the report that was floating in front of him. Although they both have dictators as government heads, Eden's government is more unstable, which will make it easier for us to overturn it, as it reduces the needed time for us to sow more discontentment for the government. They also have most of the revolutionary groups trying to overthrow the government, giving us power to negotiate a better deal by only choosing to support those who will accept our demands without forcing us to compromise anything, as they will be competing with each other. Aaron kept listening to Nova's explanation while he continued reading the reports that were on his hands for a better understanding of the context of what she was talking about. An hour later, he finally completed reading the 2 reports and raised his head to see Nova hovering in front of him, waiting for him to finish his reading. Let's go with Eden. Contact the leaders of the revolutionary groups. Tell them someone wants to support them and try to set up a meeting. Done. Nova reported shortly after receiving the orders. After being told that she has already sent the emails to the revolutionary group's leaders in Eden, he asked, do you have access to my brain map and other data that is being processed by the virtual headgear? No, sir. The virtual reality program in the headset is preventing my attempts to access it. It seems like I need your approval first. Okay then, take a look at it. Aaron gave her permission to access the data that was coming from his brain. He didn't even take a second to question her why she tried to access his data without his permission. This is because he was sure that she was never going to use it in any way that would cause him harm. This trust comes from him knowing that despite her code allowing her to have free will and could independently think without any limitation, she would never ever think about betraying him. The moment Nova tried to access Aaron's brain map and its data from the virtual reality headgear, his system informed him immediately, giving him a choice of what action it should take. Ding! It has been discovered that someone or something is trying to access the brain map and other information of the user. Allow access. Block access. He pressed allow access and another system notification appeared. Permission granted. Allowing access to the user's brain map and its data. Blocking access to the system's architecture within the user's body. The system informed him that, although he permitted whatever was trying to access his brain map and its data, it still kept itself hidden, leading to it not being included in the brain map and the data that Nova collected. Brain map and data retrieval has been completed, sir. Nova informed Aaron that she had completed the task. Analyze it and inform me of your findings when you are done. Yes, sir. With that, Nova started analyzing all the data she retrieved from Aaron's brain. When he received the confirmation, he immediately said, log out, and his consciousness returned to take control of his body. How are you feeling, sir? Nova asked him after he put the headgear down on the table. Not go analyze. I feel quite relaxed, he answered as he was stretching himself as if he had woken up from a sleep. When you were logged in, the headgear put your body in a REM sleep. This allows you to rest and release your fatigue by making your body rest. It will be very useful and will allow me to increase my productivity as I can work and rest at the same time. Haha. He agreed on its usefulness, but he also knew that it could be turned off. This was to avoid someone who used it in the daytime not being able to sleep at night. Yes, sir. This can be considered as you gaining 12 more hours without losing anything at all. Nova agreed with his thinking. Aaron, who was waiting for the information from his brain to finish being analyzed, decided to go and take a long and refreshing bath, which was then followed by him having his lunch. Sir, the analysis is complete. Nova informed him the moment he returned to the server room. What did you find? Many things, but some information seems to be deliberately omitted from your brain map. The system removed all the information about itself that you would have accessed within the data, Aaron informed Nova. I thought so as well, but despite that your brain seems like it has evolved and is very different from the data about brains that is in my knowledge library. Show it to me, Aaron asked to be shown what she meant with those words. Nova showed Aaron his brain map and highlighted what is different from his brain compared to normal brain. What's weird is that it was his whole ass brain being highlighted. Why do I seem like I have a second brain within the first one? He asked Nova after seeing the map of his brain highlighted. You still have only one brain, but everything about it changed when your body evolved to runic body, sir. Every part of your brain is under lines and lines of runes that I can't decipher at all. Did the system allow you to access my assimilated knowledge? He asked after hearing her explanation. Yes, sir. That's why I tried to decipher the runes in your brain, but they seem to be at a higher level than your current knowledge level. Okay, bring up the universal simulation formula. He ordered immediately after being told by Nova that she has access to his assimilated knowledge. He was happy that this happened, because it allowed him to not waste any more of his time typing down the knowledge that was assimilated in his brain, as he could just make Nova access it and just bring it forward to begin being used. Here it is, sir. Nova acknowledged the order and brought forward what seemed like madman's notes. The entire simulation formula was numbers after numbers and weird symbols after weird symbols. Do you understand anything in the formula? Aaron asked after he started getting a headache when he stared at the formulas for a long time, and he tried to understand it. It seems like my brain is still not powerful enough to understand the formula for now. I tried to understand the formula too, but it seems like it is also impossible for me to understand the whole of it. So how will you be simulating it then? It seems it has its own way of simulating itself without needing for me to understand how it works. Also, it seems like your system expected you to not be able to control it at all, because it allowed me special access in the program giving me pseudo-godlike powers in the simulation world if we start the simulation. What do you mean by pseudo-godlike powers? He asked, wanting more clarification. As long as it is physically possible in the real universe, I have the ability to create it in the simulation. All you will have to do is analyze and break down the original process to reverse engineer whatever you created for you to have the knowledge about it. However, the more complex the desired outcome is, the more computational power will be required to accomplish it. Moreover, this approach comes with a risk of intervention from the program, which is an unintended consequence of granting me pseudo-godlike abilities. The program will possess the authority to veto any creation generated from this feature. This veto power is in place to safeguard against potential hazards or oversights that could arise from focusing solely on achieving a specific objective, leading to catastrophic and unintended consequences. The system seems to be trying to tell me not to over-rely on this feature. Still, it will allow me to save my precious SPs by just making sure that I have knowledgeable scientists working hard under me to reverse engineer my ideas. I agree with you, sir. Nova chimed in as well, agreeing to Noah's plan. Begin the simulation then so that we can know what the size of the universe can be simulated with our current computing power. Beginning the process? How long will it take? Approximately 2 days. Why? He asked, surprised by the amount of time it would take to start the simulation. In order for the simulation to commence, the program requires a starting point, or as it is commonly referred to, anchor coordinates. This starting point is crucial as it serves as a reference point for the program to orient itself and begin simulating the universe from that specific location. To accomplish this, a considerable amount of time, up to 2 days, is needed for me to input the necessary parameters into the program. These parameters allow the program to determine our position within the vast expanse of the universe and enable it to commence the simulation from this point onward. Okay, go on and do your thing. Also start the process of compiling all the runic knowledge you received from my brain. It seems like with the simulation program going online, it will allow to practice my rune crafting without having to worry about hurting someone. Yes, sir. Nova started extracting and organizing this information. She organized it in a way that will provide Aaron with a comprehensive understanding of runic language and its applications. Rothschild Mansion. Rena Rothschild could be seen in her workroom inside the mansion she lived in. In front of her was her personal computer, which had an email open. The email seemed to be the official confirmation of her dismissal from the board of directors. She was sitting there, but her mind wasn't present with her in the room. Her brain was currently looking for ways to get her position in the company back. In her deep thoughts, she was thinking of a way for her to return to her position in the company again. And this time, just like the first time, she wasn't planning on stopping with just returning, but also trying to remove her brother from the company. But it seems like her brother has used the period in which she was married to Rot-M very well, and removed every member of the board who was on her side, and replaced them with those who were loyal to her. This is one of the reasons her return wasn't very welcomed by the members of the board, but they could do nothing because it was the family head's order. But since the family head allowed competition within the family, it led to her brother once again having an advantage in the competition due to having almost all the members of the board on his side. This resulted in her being demoted right at the start. It was followed by almost all of her business plans being interfered with, or being handed over to someone else to cover for her under the disguise of trying to help her, leading to someone else taking the credit for its success. Although she tried to complain to the family head about this, he decided to turn a blind eye on this under the pretense of not interfering. And when his brother saw that the family head had decided to not interfere with their war, he decided to cross the line and dismiss her from being a member of board, with the reason being creating a toxic work environment by trying to bring the family head in their competitions. Ting. A notification sound from her computer woke her up from her deep thoughts. Most of the people would have ignored it as it happens to them almost all the time, but for her, any notification sound coming from her computer was important due to her only allowing certain apps to make the notification sound. When she looked at her computer, she found out that she had received a new email. Just as she was about to ignore it, her eyes fell to the sender's name and she froze. Is she writing because they want to cash in their favor? She spoke to herself as her mouse hovered on top of the email. She ended up deciding to open the email to see what it was about without trying to worry about it too much. If they wanted their compensation, she had to hand it over, because no matter the result, they had helped her when she needed it the most. When she opened the email, she was surprised that they were not cashing in their favor, but they just wanted to meet. Subject: none. Long time no see. How about a meeting? What is the meeting about? They seemed to not want to elaborate that reason for whatever reason they had. She didn't even hesitate to think about the reason for the meeting. She agreed to it immediately without wasting too much time. She pressed her intercom. Chloe, come in. she called for her secretary. Knock knock.
Come in.
Her secretary immediately entered the room after receiving permission to enter. Rona started talking when the secretary finally entered the office. I have a meeting scheduled with someone outside the building in the upcoming days. Go and notify the security team to be ready for a meeting to take place outside anytime during the week. She ordered her secretary to inform the security team to be ready for her scheduled meeting because although she agreed to the meeting, she did not exclude the possibility that it was her brother messing with her all the time. She didn't specify the date because she was waiting for the other side to reply to her, for them to schedule the meeting. Yes, ma'am, I will do so immediately, Chloe. The secretary agreed to her order immediately and left to inform the security team without asking her on which day her meeting will take place. This is due to her being taught not to ask any question and just follow orders. When the secretary left her room, Rena started waiting for the reply from her benefactor for them to set their meeting.
Ting.
And the reply immediately came from them, asking for when she was free for the meeting. This back and forth continued until they reached an agreement to meet 2 days later. Inside the virtual reality, Aaron could be seen sitting cross-legged in a garden. He was currently reading a book about runes. It was arranged by Nova with the information collected from his brain. Sir, I managed to set a meeting with Rena. Nova's words made him raise his head from the book and turn to her. When is it? He asked. 2 days later. Nova replied immediately. Why set it so soon? He asked because it was set sooner than he expected. She seemed to want to meet us sooner in hope that we have something that can help her again, Nova explained, informing her the reason it was set that soon. Okay, how is the Universal Simulation program coming on? I just completed giving it its needed parameters, and it started doing its calculation and will soon begin its simulation. Good. I really need that simulation program to start so that I can practice using runes. Why wait for the simulation program and not just do the practice here? She asked while pointing at the room they were in. All the actions I perform within this room are a product of my imagination alone. Any progress I appear to make while learning runes in this room would simply be a manifestation of my imagination and not true improvement. This is a constraint of the current virtual reality program, and it would take years of research to overcome it and create a program that goes beyond my imagination. However, all of these challenges can be resolved with the use of the universal simulation, which simulates the universe on a one-to-one basis. If I were to learn runes within this simulation, it would be no different than learning it in the real world. Understood. Nova ended up agreeing to his reasoning after hearing his explanation. How about the revolutionary leaders? Any reply from them? No reply from them yet. Okay, inform me when they reply back to us. Okay, inform me when they reply back to us, he said as he returned his eyes to the book about runes as he waited for the simulation program to begin, so that he could begin his runic training. He just now started focusing on the topic of runes because when he gained the knowledge of runes, he was also forced to hold back on practicing it due to the inherent dangers that came with it. The power of runes was immense, and without proper guidance, it could lead to disastrous consequences. Hence, he did nothing when it came to training on how to use runes, but all of these limitations will soon be overcome by him using the universal simulation as his training ground. With the advent of the universal simulation, he could finally put his fears to rest. The program would serve as his training ground, providing him with a safe environment to hone his skills without any risk of bodily harm. It was the perfect solution, and he couldn't wait to get started. The next day, Aaron entered the basement after eating his breakfast. Sir, the simulation has finally started. Nova immediately informed him after he entered the room. It took a day longer than expected, Aaron said as he lifted the virtual headgear and headed to the makeshift bed, lying down and entering the virtual world to continue their conversation face-to-face in the virtual reality. The simulation took longer than anticipated because, prior to commencing the simulation, it was necessary for me to allocate a percentage of the computer's processing power for its permanent use. As I initially assigned it half of the computing power for the simulation, it resulted in a delay of 1 day beyond the planned duration. Nova immediately started her explanation the moment Aaron entered the virtual room. Aaron listened to Nova's explanation without interrupting her. Then, after she finished her explanation, he asked, "Does this mean that half of your computing power is currently under the simulation program's control?" Certainly. Despite allocating half of the computing power to the simulation, There is no discernible impact on the computer's processing speed. This is because most of the tasks were being handled by just 10% of the chip's computing power, leaving the rest of the power idle most of the time. Did you manage to connect the simulation program to the virtual reality program? He asked after knowing that there was no impact in the computer computing capabilities. Yes, sir, Nova replied while turning to her left side and raising her hands closer to her chest and started doing some jutsu hand signs. Then she said, summoning quintuple Rashomon, and just like Hashirama, she summoned a giant gate. Eren couldn't help himself and ended up laughing while holding his stomach. After laughing for several minutes, he finally managed to recollect himself. Ha! I really needed that laugh, he said while looking at Nova, who had changed her clothes to the ones which Kunoichi used to wear to go with her theme. I have been watching some anime with my idle computing power, Nova explained her theme. Anyway, is this the door leading to the simulated universe? He asked, returning their focus back to the main topic. With the size of the current simulation, I wouldn't call it a universe, not even a world. Is the size of the simulation that small? The size of the simulation is about the African continent, about 30 million square kilometers, 11.7 million square miles, is being simulated by the program. Is that what half of the quantum chip is capable of simulating? No, only half of its assigned computing power is used for this simulation. The other half is to allow for me to play God within the simulation. Okay, let's enter and see, Eren said as he started moving toward the Rashomon gate. Nova moved first and started pushing the gate to open it for them to enter. After that, they entered the simulation together without wasting any more time. There is no difference than the former room, Eren said after entering the simulation, appearing on a very large flat ground. Sir, the previous room that was being run by the virtual reality program was operated based on the laws of the universe as dictated by your imagination. This means that if you believe that gravity was not important, it would have been removed in that virtual space. However, this side of the door is different. It is an exact replica of the real universe, down to the last atom. That is if we have enough computing power to simulate it. Nova finished her explanation with a shade. Where is this? Eren asked while looking at his surroundings. Serengeti National Parks. Nova answered Eren's question without turning to him, as her eyes were focusing on the lion in the horizon. Eren, who was wondering what Nova was looking at that was so important to the point she didn't turn to him when she was answering his question, so he turned to look at what she was looking at. Fuck, is the only word that came from his mouth before his body immediately started running to the gate, leaving behind Nova, who started laughing at him. While he was nearing the door, he suddenly froze mid-running like a glitch. Sir, with me you are safe within the simulation. Nova said that as he resumed the time of the universe in the program. Did you just pause time? Eren asked after being released. Just for a short time. If I try to hold it for longer than a few seconds, the program will be forced to intervene to prevent it crashing. Nova answered his question while pausing time again, but this time making sure that Eren was not frozen and could move freely. So what you mean is that if we have a large enough computing capacity, we can make time here go as fast or as slow as we want. Yeah, we can do that even now, but for that we will have to shrink the size of the simulation to accomplish it. With Nova's acknowledgement, Eren's mind started being filled with ways he could use this feature to its fullest potential. Ha 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 ha, finally hit a jackpot. I can extend the time difference here to be 100:1 and make a day out there 100 days in here, Eren said with excitement in his voice, which he didn't try to hide at all. Though you can theoretically do that, but there is a limit that your brain can handle. What is my limit? Eren asked, wanting to know what his current brain can handle. For your brain, sir, it will be a maximum of 50:1. As for a normal human brain, the max they can handle is 25:1 before they receive any enhancement that changes their brains. Still better than nothing. So how much time acceleration can the current computing capacity handle? Currently, the maximum it can handle is a 5:1 time acceleration. Do it, he ordered immediately, wanting to try his first runic spell before he had to go and meet Rina tomorrow. On it. Nova immediately started implementing the changes, and the land started shrinking until only a small part of it remained surrounded by a dark wall, meaning beyond the wall, nothing was being simulated beyond the wall. After the shrinking of the land was done, Nova immediately started accelerating the time within the simulation until it reached the limit, which was 5:1 compared to the real universe. The time acceleration has started, sir. Nova informed Aaron that he was currently spending time 5 times faster than the real universe. Let's begin then. Aaron immediately sat cross-legged as he was about to start his first runic practice in his life. But an idea popped up in his mind and immediately interrupted his about-to-begin practice. What is it, sir? Nova asked Aaron, who seemed to be out of focus. An insane idea just came to my mind, and if we can make it happen, then it will revolutionize my runic training and everything else that we could do inside here, Aaron said with anticipation on his face. And what is the idea, sir? Nova asked as her anticipation also grew. Since you have a copy of my brain, can't you create a copy of me that is similar to me to the last atom? Aaron asked Nova. He asked this instead of explaining because the answer will determine the chances of his new idea succeeding. Yes, I can do that, sir, Nova answered immediately as she had already tried it when Aaron was logged out. She hid this from him because she was afraid that Aaron would be repulsed by the idea of having a copy of himself being made. What if we made duplicates of me, had them learn about runes and other subjects we require, and then assimilate their gained knowledge they gained by practicing into my brain, similar to how my system assimilates the knowledge that I bought from it? Aaron asked while expecting a positive reply from Nova. Nova, who took a few seconds calculating the feasibility of this idea, then she replied, "We can definitely pursue this approach, and its potential is even greater than you anticipated. Since the brains we'll be creating will exist entirely within the simulation, we can overcome the time acceleration limitation of the simulation. Our only limitation that will remain will be computing power. Furthermore, since these brains are completely digital, there is no concern about harming your physical brain due to acceleration. However, I regret to inform you that I could not find any information in your brain about how to perform the knowledge assimilation. It seems that your system considers this technology confidential and has removed it from the accessed brain data." Aaron was very happy when he heard Nova's answer, despite her telling him that she currently couldn't assimilate the gained knowledge to his brain. This is because he was sure the knowledge to do that existed in the system's shop. Aaron wasted no time at all as he immediately opened the system's shop and searched for the said knowledge. Knowledge assimilation involves transferring information directly into an individual's brain, enabling them to fully comprehend and understand a subject without the need for study or practice. Price: 100 million SP. When he saw the price, he became happy, as he realized that he could buy the technology if he just collected a few million more SP. Good. Now if I finish collecting the SP, I will have nothing to worry about. My clones will be learning the runes in my place, and all I have to do is assimilate what they learned. Ha 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 ha. Aaron started laughing like a maniac, and Nova didn't see it as anything weird, as she became used to Aaron's weird antics a very long time ago. Congratulations, sir, but you need to start practicing your runes. You still have 4 days in Accelerated Simulation Universe time, ASUT, until your meeting time with Rena Rothschild, said Nova, reminding him that he still had to start practicing by himself until he had enough SP to buy the assimilation technology from the system shop. Okay, Aaron agreed to her words and returned his focus back to practicing runes, which had been interrupted by his sudden revolutionary idea. Aaron sat down and sat cross-legged, followed by closing his eyes and taking a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves and calm himself down to be able to focus. He needed to calm himself down because he needed all the focus he could have, because he knew that despite having the knowledge of runes in his mind, wielding them was an entirely different matter. Aaron cleared his mind, then closed his eyes and began to focus all of his attention on his runic heart, its voice low and rhythmic, causing him to feel a deep sense of calm wash over him. He started visualizing the rune he wanted to train in. When he started visualizing the rune, inside his brain, runes lit up, attracting Nova's attention, who was watching and documenting everything that was happening to Aaron. When the runes in his brain lit up, Aaron started hearing faint whispering in his mind, guiding him toward the path of accomplishing the realization of the rune. With that, his runic heart started lighting up and releasing energy and dumping it through his veins. Aaron focused on the energy while trying to shape it into the rune he wanted to actualize. He felt a sudden jolt of electricity surge through his body, forcing him to open his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he saw a golden runic word, light, levitating in front of his eyes, which kept getting brighter and brighter as his heart was still pumping out energy, which he was still focusing it on the runes. When he realized that he was still adding energy to runes, he immediately cut the supply of it, resulting in the runes stopping to increase in brightness. Immediately after stopping the supply of magical energy, he said in his mind, "Activate," for the rune to start doing what it was supposed to do. With the order given, the rune activated with a sudden burst of intensity. The light from the rune erupted outward, filling the surroundings with a brilliant but blinding glow. Golden light lit his face and became the only thing he could see. The light continued getting brighter and brighter, forcing him to close his eyes to avoid being blinded. "Deactivate," Aaron said in his mind for the rune to deactivate, as its blinding light was getting bright enough to cause him discomfort even with his eyes closed. The runic words started dimming. After waiting a few seconds for the rune to deactivate and the surroundings to return to normal, he opened his eyes again. "Congratulations, sir." Nova immediately congratulated him for succeeding in activating his first rune. But Aaron couldn't hear her, as his eyes were focused on the blue screen that appeared in front of him. Ding! First rune. Congratulations on officially starting your journey to becoming a rune master. Rewards, 10 million SP. The system rewarded him 10 million SP because it deemed it as him officially beginning his journey into runic mastery, and it wanted to congratulate him for that. "Sir. Sir." Nova repeatedly called for Aaron. "MH," Aaron replied, as returned his focus back to his surroundings due Nova's consistent call. "What were you saying?" he asked again after realizing that he had ignored what Nova was saying. "I was congratulating you, sir." "Thank you. But what were you looking at?" Nova asked Aaron, wanting to know where his focus went. "You didn't see what I was looking at despite having access to my brain? Your system seems to be actively preventing any and everything that can lead to the discovery of how it works. If it is even altering and hiding some of my real-time brain data, then it means that it really doesn't want us discovering how it works," Aaron said, then returned to answering her first question. "As for what I was seeing, it was the system's notification and reward for me succeeding in activating my first rune and beginning my first step into the journey of becoming a rune master. It seems like the system puts a very high importance in rune mastering," Nova added after hearing Aaron's explanation. "Yes, it seems so based on the rewards. Anyway, let's start analyzing the records of my activation," Aaron ordered, as he wanted to try and see all the process his body took from calming his nerves to activation of the rune. This was because he wanted to know what he was doing wrong and what he did right to optimize his system and avoid wasting his time training with inefficiencies in his training process. "Yes, sir." Nova immediately executed the order and created 4 boxes within those boxes containing 3D real-life rendering of both inside and outside of his body. One box had the 3D real-life rendering of the inside of his brain. Another one showed the inside of his heart. Another one showed the entirety inside of his body, and the last one showed the normal him sitting down. He could control the speed of the footage, the angle at what he viewed them. He could even zoom in for clarity. He could do this because all of the simulation data was collected and could be replayed completely in whatever way they wanted. When Aaron looked at the length of the video, he was surprised. "It took me 9 hours to finish creating just one rune? To be exact, it was 9 hours and a half. How long did you think it was?" Aaron asked, wanting to know how much time did Aaron think passed. 2 minutes. No longer than that, Aaron said as he tried to remember the amount of time he felt had passed when he was focusing on the rune. "I think this rune is responsible for that," Nova said as she zoomed on Aaron's brain until it started showing lines of runes that were written on his synapses. Then she played the footage which showed them starting to light up, meaning that they become active the moment he started his runic practice. "These runes seem to be the result of you gaining the runic body. From your description of it, you said it allows you to learn runes at a much faster pace than normal people, right?" "Yes," Aaron answered her question. "These runes seems to have functions such as guiding you to the right path in your runic use and training. So this is why I felt like someone was leading me throughout the process." Aaron nodded as he remembered something guiding him in his runic training. "Anything else that is out of the ordinary like this?" "Yes, sir. This time it is in your heart," Nova replied as he highlighted the box with the 3D footage of his heart. "Some runes went into action to allow you to have perfect control of the magical energy that was being pumped into the rune you created. It seems to be in the same category as the runes and synapses." Aaron focused on the runes in his heart, trying to at least get a glimpse at what their meaning is. But due to his runic knowledge being low, he understood shit. But Nova didn't stop there. She continued fast-forwarding the footage until when Aaron stopped supplying magic energy to the rune he had created. Then she started zooming into his heart deeper and deeper until she reached the atoms making his heart. What surprised Aaron was that there were runic lines even at that level of zoom. But before he could ask his question, Nova played the footage. The moment he stopped supplying the magic energy to the rune and activated it, the atomic-size runic lines in his heart lit up and started collecting magical energy from the atmosphere to refill his magical energy tank. Are these runes the result of gaining a runic body too? No, these are the first line of runes etched in your body in order to form your runic heart to allow the use of runes. It seems like the system is really putting way too much importance in runes, Aaron said as he zoomed out a little, trying to see the complete runic sentences written in his heart by the system. He was having a hard time seeing the complete runes as the letters were the size of an atom. From just the functions that we know they can do, it seems like it puts way more importance than you imagine, sir. Nova replied to Aaron's statement. What do you mean by that? Aaron asked. Although he knew why she said that, he wanted to hear her reasoning for saying that. From the runic knowledge that I got from your brain, runic practitioners usually need to wait some time for their magic energy to replenish in order for them to use runes again. But for you it is different. You can use runes for as long as your brain can handle the activation process. This is because the runes in your heart replenishes any magical energy that you used immediately, helping you solve the problem of replenishing your magical energy or continue practicing to increase your magic capacity. But that is not all. The runic lines responsible for the replenishment of your magical energy is taking less than 1% of the runes in your heart, meaning that more than 99% of the runes in your heart haven't become active, and we don't know what they do until they are activated and we see what they do. Despite all of these benefits, all of this was done to you free of charge. The system determined that if you had to buy the ability to use magic from its store, you would not have even bought it, due to its price being way too high for you to afford it within the century. So it gave you the ability to use runes while not giving you any knowledge of how to use runes. It means that although it is important for you to be able to use runes, it is not that urgent, and the system wants you to learn it slowly as you discover more of their usefulness. Aaron couldn't help but be impressed by her analyzing skills from the little information she had. Although he had thought about the reason why the system gave him the ability to use runes, he didn't think about it that deeply, as he didn't see anything currently in need of him having runes other than protection. That is a very detailed explanation, Nova. Good job. Aaron gave Nova a nod of approval, showing that he was really impressed by her explanation. Thank you, sir. Nova thanked Aaron while making the simulation program remove her blushing to prevent Aaron from seeing it. Now let's continue with my rune practice, Aaron said, and returned to his previous sitting place and sat cross-legged to continue his runic practice. While Aaron was practicing his runes, Nova did nothing other than sitting quietly and watching Aaron concentrate in his runic practice. 2 days later, in accelerated simulation universe time, ASUT. Sir, Henry is currently shaking your body, calling you to have dinner, Nova immediately told Aaron after he completed activating the light rune for the 7th time. Aaron was able to activate the rune in just 15 minutes this time around, thanks to his runic body. It was cutting down the activation time it takes to activate the rune by half of what it used to take him to cast the spell. This improvement was consistent every time he trained on the rune. Initially, Aaron had to spend 16 hours to activate the spell, but his runic body cut it down to 8 hours by his next try. It was followed by the time being reduced to 4 hours, then 2 hours, and eventually 1 hour. With more practice, he brought it down to half an hour, and finally only 15 minutes on his last attempt. Okay, Aaron stopped practicing his runes and got up, preparing himself to log out so that he can go and have dinner with his family. See you, Aaron said as he passed through the Rashomon gate that Nova had summoned for him to enter and leave the universal simulation. He needed to leave through the door and return to the normal virtual reality to be able to log out, because the universal simulation was currently going through time acceleration, so if he logged out within the simulation, his consciousness would experience how having 5,000 ping feels in real life. See you, sir. Nova answered Aaron's goodbye as he went through the gate. Log out, Aaron said in his mind to log out. Brother, what is that? Henry asked Aaron after he took off his helmet. Oh, this is a virtual reality helmet, Aaron answered Henry's question as he stood from his makeshift bed, holding the helmet, then headed to the table to put it there. What is it for? Henry asked another question, wanting to know what it does. It is a simulation machine like in those games and movies. Aaron explained it in a way for him to understand it easily. Can I try it? Henry asked in excitement when he heard Aaron's explanation. Yes, but later. Now let's go and eat. Didn't you come to call for that? Aaron reminded Henry, who was so excited from wanting to try the virtual gear that he forgot what he came for. Yes, Henry agreed to his words, though slightly disappointed that he didn't get to try it. With that, they left the basement, heading to the dining room for their dinner. An hour later, Aaron returned to the basement by himself. Henry seemed to have forgotten his excitement of wanting to try the headgear due to being told by his mother that, if he left his toys in random places without collecting them, she would confiscate all of his toys and not allow him to use them anymore. Welcome back, sir. Nova welcomed Aaron the moment he entered the basement room. Thanks, Aaron said as he put on the helmet and laid down on the makeshift bed and said, Log in. Are you going to train on another spell, or will you continue training on the light rune? I will continue training on the light rune, because I want to see if there is a limit with the runic body's capability of decreasing the training time by half every time he repeatedly trains the same rune, Aaron said while sitting down so that he can continue his practice. Okay. Nova said nothing after that and left Aaron to continue his practice of the spell. 3 days later, in accelerated simulation universe time, ASUT, Aaron stretched his hand forward and said, Light. The moment he finished saying those words, runic letters representing the function of light appeared in front of his hand and brightened a little before it stopped. Then it was followed by runic words lighting up and releasing a soft golden light hovering in front of Aaron. While it appeared to take a long time for the rune to activate, in reality, it only took a nanosecond from the moment Aaron commanded the rune to activate and the actual activation of the rune. Aaron kept staring at the soft light caused by his runic activation, feeling proud of himself. It took longer than expected, Aaron said about the time it took him to perfect the use of the rune. Although he managed to reduce the activation time of the runes to nanoseconds, he still had to practice on controlling the right amount of magical energy so that the rune didn't blind him. Although your runic body gives you perfect control of the magical energy, you still needed to find the perfect amount magic for every rune to avoid wasting magical energy where it is not needed. Yeah, you were right about that. This is also one of the reasons I didn't practice it in the outside world, Aaron agreed with Nova, as he remembered the time when he activated the rune immediately, but since he gave it too much magical energy, and the rune came out brighter than the sun. The problem was not its brightness but its proximity to his eyes. He had to ask Nova to reverse the damage done to his eyes using her powers within the simulation, or else he would have been blinded forever within the simulation. Let me try using the rune in the real world first, Aaron said to Nova, and immediately went through the gate and logged out to try activating the runes in the real world. Real world. Aaron went and locked the door leading to the basement, so that he wouldn't freak anyone who might accidentally see. After he turned off the lights in the basement, he said, Activate, while envisioning the rune of light in his mind. And just like magic, a soft glowing light lit up the room in a golden glow, allowing him to see everything within the room. Wow! Nova's voice was heard through the speakers as she was viewing everything through the cameras within the room. What do you see? Aaron asked Nova, wanting to know what parts of the rune are seen in the real world. I saw nothing other than a soft golden light appearing out of nowhere, lighting the room in golden glow. It seems my assumption was right. Normal people in the world won't be able to see the cause. They will only see the results coming from it. Yes, sir. This will allow you flexibility in using runes anywhere. Aaron nodded his head, agreeing to what Nova said. Sir, you need to start preparing for your meeting with Rena. Nova immediately reminded him about the meeting he had with Rena. I'm really going to have to find a way to get used to the time acceleration, or else I will be having troubles keeping up with time and appointments. Aaron said that, as he had spent a total of 5 days within the simulation despite only 1 day having passed in the real world. Don't worry, sir. I will be reminding you if you forget anything, Nova said to Aaron, who was massaging his eyebrows. Thanks, Nova, Aaron said to Nova after he heard her saying that. Aaron then deactivated the rune in the basement, then turned on the lights in the basement. I will go and prepare for the meeting, Aaron said, as he left the basement room, going upstairs to eat breakfast and prepare for his meeting with Rena. 2 hours later, Aaron had finally completed his preparations for the meeting and was heading to the garage in order to head to the meeting when he was reminded by Nova that he forgot his watch. Thanks, Aaron thanked Nova while he was heading to the basement to pick his own made watch. I nearly forgot you, Aaron said, looking at his digital watch. As I said, I will always be there to remind you. Nova's voice came from the watch replying to him. Yes, the watch had one of the 4 remaining quantum chips. He made it because he wanted to always have Nova and her full capabilities with him at any time at any place. Although he could have had her be with him using his phone, he currently didn't have the time to create one, and also it being a watch allows it to blend and not attract too much attention like how a custom phone would. With that, Aaron left the basement heading to the garage. Then he left the house while being driven by Donald, one of his bodyguards going with him to his meeting with Rena. I will be back in about 2 hours or more, so go and buy yourselves some food, Aaron said to Donald and his other bodyguard buddy as he left the car. Yes, sir, Donald said. He then started driving the car to the parking lot. As Aaron stepped through the front door of the Ritz-Carlton, he felt a rush of excitement at the opulent surroundings, because despite him being a billionaire, he never really lived like one at all. The testament to this was that it was his first time entering a 5-star hotel in his life. The lobby was grand and spacious, with towering columns and a glittering chandelier that cast a warm, golden light across the room. The walls were adorned with works of art, and the plush carpets and sumptuous furnishings added to the sense of luxury and refinement. After looking around and attracting a little attention from the people in the lobby, Aaron made his way to the front desk, where he was greeted by a friendly concierge who welcomed him to the hotel. Welcome, sir. How may I help you? She asked Aaron. I have a reservation in one of your restaurants under the name of Nova. Aaron explained his reason for being her. It was under the name Nova because she was the one who made the reservation for him. She used her name because she knew Aaron didn't want their meeting to attract the attention of anyone. As for why choose a 5-star hotel for a meeting you don't want to attract too much attention, it was because of Rena. As a member of the Rothschilds family, her going to a normal restaurant would attract more attention and suspicion compared to going to a 5-star hotel. After looking through their system and finding the reservation under the said name, the concierge offered to escort him there. Sure, he agreed without any problem, because he knew he would be having trouble finding his way if he chose to go by himself. As they walked, Aaron couldn't help but marvel at the attention to detail that had gone into every aspect of the hotel's design. The walls were lined with beautiful artwork, and every piece of furniture seemed carefully chosen to create a sense of elegance and sophistication. Finally, they arrived at Navio, and the concierge wished Aaron a pleasant dining experience before taking his leave. Aaron took a moment to take in the breathtaking ocean views from the dining room before being greeted by the headwaiter. He was then escorted to the private room, where he settled in and started his waiting for Rena to arrive for their meeting. Any bugs? He asked the void after he was left alone in the room. No, sir. Nova's reply came from the watch. Nova had immediately taken control of everything that had internet connection within the hotel's premise the moment he was in the proximity. She was monitoring everything, making sure that nothing dangerous happens to Aaron during the period he is within the hotel. 15 minutes later, the door to the private room was opened and his breath caught in his throat as he caught sight of the stunningly beautiful woman who stepped into the room. She was beautiful beyond compare, with cascading waves of dark hair, sparkling eyes, and a smile that lit up the entire room. Nova, you have a competitor. These words couldn't help but come from his mouth due to Rena's beauty being comparable to Nova's virtual body. Thankfully, no one heard him as he managed to say it in a low enough voice that only Nova could hear him. Nova's reply to this was nothing other than her vibrating the watch to show her displeasure in her beauty being compared to Rena's, but even she couldn't refute what he said. The reason they were surprised is because although they had seen her pictures, it wasn't of the highest quality one. This was the result of the Rothschild family wanting their family members' lives to be far from the public eye. Aaron stood and extended his hand to her for handshake while he said, "Welcome, I'm Aaron Michael." Rena shook Aaron's hand, then she replied saying, "I'm Rena Rothschild," with a smile on her face. Why would Radim cheat on her? Is he dumb or what? The thought appeared on his mind. "Let's have a seat," Aaron said after shaking her hand, which came as a surprise to Rena. Rena was used to people getting lost in her beauty and forgetting what to do, but for Aaron, who had spent about a week with Nova's virtual body within the simulation, it was manageable for him. Although he was mesmerized, he managed to control and not embarrass himself in front of her. Rena sat on the other side of the table, sitting face to face with Aaron. Are you by yourself? Rena asked because she was wondering why they were in a large private room. The small ones were booked up for today, and only this one remained, Aaron replied honestly without beating around the bush. Now let's get to the main topic. What do you want for your favor that needs me to come and meet you face to face? Rena went directly to the main topic without wasting any time with small talks. There seems to be a misunderstanding from your side, Aaron said while showing that he was taken aback by her reasoning to reach such a conclusion. A misunderstanding, you say? Then what are we doing here? She asked when she received a different than expected response. She thought the meeting was for her helpers to meet her and cash in their favor. That's why she came prepared to repay whatever they wanted if it is within her capabilities. Yes, a misunderstanding. I'm here to extend a helping hand for the second time due to some coincidences on our part. What will you want in exchange for the help you will provide? This time she asked due to her wanting to know what will she have to give up for their help for the second time. Nothing at the moment, Aaron answered without wasting any time. But we will need your help very soon, once you regain your position within the family. Rena hesitated to accept the help because she didn't know what they would want from her when she regained her position in the family. When Aaron saw the hesitation in her eyes, he decided to assure her lest she decides to not accept his help. He was going through all these troubles because he really needed her to be on his side. This is because, for one of his future plans to succeed without a hitch, he needed someone within the family with powerful political say to support him. Although the plan could succeed without anyone's help, having it would expedite its completion. You don't have to worry. We won't ask for something that would harm you or jeopardize your position in the family. It might even seem trivial and useless when we ask you of it, Aaron said, trying to assure her. You have my promise, he added. After a few seconds of silence, she finally gave up and agreed as she really needed his help at the moment, and she was ready to lose an arm to get her position back. Okay then, what do you have that can help me this time? I'm assuming that you know my current situation in the family,